in a post-colonial location where we were unfortunately taught to not embrace our true cultural identity, aspects of it. There are some parts of it that are okay, apparently, but there are other parts that are not. The language was not for many. So what I have been doing, because I believe that in order to truly connect with our creator, we need to truly connect with ourselves. And my ultimate mission really is to help people to connect with their creator in an authentic way.
Greetings, Apreneurs. Welcome to the Authorpreneur Secrets podcast, the show that uncovers the secrets to win with books beyond book sales and dominate entrepreneurship. Through exclusive author interviews, stories, and must-have resources, you will discover some of the secrets and strategies to thrive with books and generate lasting income. I invite you to become an Authorpreneur ambassador and join me in my mission to raise up 10,000 Caribbean entrepreneurs by 2030. Spread the word about the podcast and encourage more people to increase their impact and income with books beyond book sales. Without further ado, let's get into the show. It's episode 126 of the Authorpreneur Secrets podcast. I'm your host, C. Ruth Taylor, and today we're going to be talking about books and cultural change. And you're going to be hearing an inspiring interview from Richards Goffe, who is a cultural advocate and one of the persons who will be presenting at the Caribbean Authorpreneur Summit. She's a graduate of the Authorpreneur Secrets Academy, and I'm sure you don't want to miss that, as well as I'm going to be talking about the revised edition of Authorpreneur Secret. And if you're watching on YouTube, you will see that it's a lighter green version of the book and it has gold coins on it. And I'm also in green, and my hair is also in gold. And so today we're going to talk more about the summit, this revised edition, and have that amazing interview that we did with Richards Goffe. So stay tuned. Book publishing has many paths, and just figuring out where to go at each stage can be confusing. But with insights and guidance from author experts just like us, you can tackle the writing process competently and be assured that the goal of being a published author is within reach. Welcome to the Caribbean Authorpreneur Summit, the place for Caribbean authors to shine. With each staging of our summit, leading Caribbean author experts at home and in the diaspora share their stories and strategies to win with books beyond book sales. In the process, aspiring and published authors are inspired and lives are transformed. The Caribbean Authorpreneur Summit will ensure that fewer books die in the minds of their authors, more manuscripts become published legacies, and precious lives are transformed with the turn of each page. All right, so in terms of my authorpreneurship ventures, we have been doing the 30-day writing challenge. That's idea to book in 30 days, also known as our Rocket Writing Challenge. And I used this challenge this year to rewrite this book. So it was at 23,000 words. I took out maybe 2,000 words and added almost 7,000 new words. So the book is, last time I checked, was 29,600 and something words. And you know, as you go through the editing and the revision process, that you may take out more words and add more words. So my aim is that this book will be published before the year ends. So I wanted to release it at this summit, but I've changed my mind. And because it's not completely new, a lot of the editing would have been done. So it's going to be mostly proofreading. So I have printed my copy that I am going through, and I have sent it off to the proofreader for her to do her thing. So in another 2 weeks or so, we should be done with proofreading. And I really love this new edition. So the back is blank because I just kind of just printed it. And we'll do the full cover after we're through with the editing. I actually was writing in a formatted document, so I didn't have to do a lot of reformatting. And that's the beauty of working on a revised edition, and you have the source file. So in this, what's new in this book, we have like a publishing roadmap, like if you want to publish a book in 60 to 90 days, what are the steps that you would take? What's new is that we have a publishing toolkit at the back. We have included more Q&A questions. So now we have 20 questions. I've also updated in terms of the listing, price listing, that is there. And of course, the Caribbean entrepreneur rock stars, their stories are in there. Those who have benefited from my publishing education and training programs, including the Summit, the Academy. And you're going to hear from one of those Academy members today, Joanne Richards Goffe, and their stories are captured. So that's a picture of Gian there. 9 of them, and there are other stories. And Vision 2030 is in this new edition. If you can see it, it may not be so clear, but chapter 5 is about Vision 2030. You know, the number one development goal, the UN Sustainable Development Goal, is the elimination of poverty. And my entrepreneurship initiative is all about that. Of course, there are other things that go with it, but it's at the heart of it is creating economic freedom using books. Not just selling books, but using books as a vehicle and a platform for that, because the book is not just a single product, right? The content of it can be leveraged to create multiple income streams. That's why the tagline of this show is winning beyond book sales, right? And so we delve into that in it as well. We have expanded a little bit on the authorpreneur ventures that you could do. And I've included more resource persons in there and just updated what was there. So now we have 15 entrepreneurship ideas. In the book before, it was 12. So now we have 15 entrepreneurship ideas. We also have in it the 7 entrepreneur tips. Do your research, get business coaching, create a recurring program, and some of those things. So as I'm going through, I want to encourage you, if you're doing print books, do not just review it online and print it. There are things that you miss on screen. And this was one of the mistakes I made with my first book, and I've tried not to do it again. And so even as I looked online, sometimes the spacing issues are not seen properly. Sometimes there are punctuation misses. Sometimes there are spelling misses. And it's only when you print it and review it that you're able to catch these things. So that's what I'm doing. And I'm really excited about this book because it's the main equipping tool. And I know there are others on the challenge with me. I want to big up Diana Shanta. She was writing. Suzanne A. Muir. I want to big up Casey Ann. Well, she wrote me and said she's on the challenge. I know Antoinette was also writing. I know Daphne was also writing. And so the unique thing about this is that we are going to be launching this revised edition at the summit. And the people who are going to be, most of the presenters at the summit, their stories are also in this book, their entrepreneur journeys and how they have leveraged books to win beyond book sales, books for advocacy, books to start a new career, and business, books to further ministry. And so it's trust me, this is an excellent blueprint. And as the subtitle says, write fast, publish cost effectively, and generate lasting income. This book tells you how to do that. And it also shows you examples. And so this is really a winning toolkit. It's like a business in a box for Caribbean authors at home or in the diaspora to win. And so it's Caribbean centric, but it doesn't mean that if you're not in the Caribbean that you can't apply the principles. It's just that I've included a lot of Caribbean stories because of the vision that God gave me of raising up Caribbean author entrepreneurs or Caribbean authorpreneurs. And so it's unique. There's no other book like this on the market that's Caribbean centric and have Caribbean stories. And so you need to get this book, Authorpreneur Secret. And so I think it's by December 21, the ebook will be out. So it's currently on pre-order. I'm going to put the link in the show notes so you can go and get that. So that's the latest. And of course, we are preparing for the summit because it's all tied together. So the summit is January 19 to 20. On the first day, we are going to be looking about writing and publishing made easy. So in the first session, we're going to have Patricia Fletcher, and she's going to be sharing some tips there, another graduate of the Academy. And then in the evening is the big launch, right? It's the Triple Treasure launch, Vision 2030, the book, and the Academy officially, because we had a soft launch in 2020. We're going to have now the official thing. Yeah, day 2, we're going to talk about copyright, AI, and we're going to showcase some publishers, Caribbean publishers, and exposing you to some publishing pathways and ways to win. You're going to benefit from coming to the summit. You're going to be inspired, you're going to be educated, and you're going to see tremendous possibilities that can happen with your book. And so I want you to encourage your friends to come. It's going to be streamed in our Facebook group and also on YouTube, the Authorpreneur Secrets channel. But I also want you to register, so you can go to authorpreneursecrets.com and look for Caribbean Authorpreneur Summit and go there to register. I'm excited about that. So without further ado, let's get into the interview with Joanne Richards Goffe. Today I have with me Joanne Faith Richards Goffe. She's an author, singer-songwriter, transformational speaker, and cultural advocate. She has a master's in ethnomusicology, and she's passionate about truth, justice, simplicity, and encouraging people to worship their creator using their authentic voice. Joanne is married to a retired teacher and visual artist, Marcel Goffe. And Joanne and I have many things in common. We both grew up in the same denomination, the Missionary Church Association. We both went to Jamaica Theological Seminary. We both have a love for missions, and we have served with Wycliffe Bible translators. And then Joanne was a member of our Authorpreneur Secrets Academy. And as you heard before, she'll be one of the presenters at our Caribbean Authorpreneur Summit in January. But today she's here because of her books and her using books as a platform for advocacy. So without further ado, welcome to the show, Joanne.
Thank you, Ruth. It's so good to be here. I'm honored.
And the shoe is on the other foot because I was on your interview show, and
Yes.
that's conversations around Come Make We Worship.
Yes, it's crucial conversations around the magazine, the KW magazine, Conversations in Faith and Culture. Yes.
You're from Jamaica and you're passionate about the Jamaican culture. What is it that you love about the Jamaican culture, and why are you so passionate about it, especially our language?
Well, you threw in the especially our language at the end, but let me start with, because I thought about that question really hard. And I think what I love most, and I'm not going to say the food, even though I love the food, and the book is
Yes.
about, but the fact that our national anthem is a prayer
Mm.
Eternal Father, bless our land. And then our national pledge is a pledge before God and all mankind. I have traveled to many places. I
Yes.
have yet to come across a pledge that is as deep and as powerful as our pledge. And I think that's what I love the most about Jamaica. The
Mm.
language, I don't know. I think everybody loves their mother tongue. Well, everybody should love their mother
Sure.
tongue.
Yes.
And so, but it wasn't my first language.
Mm.
We weren't allowed to speak the Jamaican language in the house.
Ah.
But when I started going out further afield and hearing the language, I fell in love with it. And then I went to Teachers College and learned that it's actually a language. It's
Ah.
not just bad English as we were taught. So I got on in it route, may I tell you the truth. When we come back, when
Yes.
I came back home from college, like, on weekends or so, and my mother's mouth would drop open because my roommate was from St. Mary's, so it wasn't even regular Kingston patois. And but I just loved it. I loved the Louise Bennett poems. I would just sit with her book Jamaica Labrish and just read. That that surprised my mother too, because she didn't hear me speaking the language, but here was I reading it fluently. But she couldn't say anything because it's Louise Bennett and it's in a book, and she loved books. She taught us to love books. So yeah.
I love it. For those who are unfamiliar, what do you
Yes.
mean by the mother tongue?
A simple explanation would be whatever language you would hear, you have heard your mother speaking from when you were in her womb, or the very first language that you became fluent in or learned to, it's that language that you are emotionally connected to, really.
Okay.
So, I mean, I know foreigners who have come raise their children in Jamaica, and they told me, no, this is a white American lady, but she was married to a white Jamaican man.
Yes.
And her children grew up in Jamaica, and whenever they are getting emotional, Jamaican language.
Would
Yeah.
flow. But talk to us more about being a cultural advocate. You have a degree in ethnomusicology.
Mhm.
Sometimes you're described as an ethnodoxologist. And I see you as a cultural advocate. And
Yes.
so how do you tie in all of those? What does your job entail in terms of putting all of that together?
Putting it together.
Yes.
So the whole thing about being a cultural advocate as a Jamaican, I have to say that because if I were somebody else operating somewhere else, it probably would be different. But in a post-colonial location where we were unfortunately taught to not embrace our true cultural identity, aspects of it. There are some parts of it that are okay, apparently, but there are other parts that are not. The language was not for many. So, what I have been doing, because I believe that in order to truly connect with our Creator, we need to truly connect with ourselves. And my ultimate mission really is to help people to connect with their Creator in an authentic way. And so, right, so that is how what I'm doing is connected. So the Jamaican New Testament, it's the document, it's the piece of literature that contains the most of the Jamaican language using the what I will call the authorized spelling system from the Jamaican language unit. And so uh, my mission is to get it into the ears and the hearts subsequently of as many people as possible. So that is one thing. The music is another thing. And of course, as an ethnomusicologist, that is a part of the mission as well. So I looked at it, I said, how many scripture-based songs do we have for church that use Jamaican language and the Jamaican music genre? Not many. And so I would say God started giving me songs, and so it has been the language and the music together, and really just to talk with people, to engage with people about who we are, um, and how that connects with our faith, so that we can begin to realize that yes, we can be truly Jamaican and truly Christian at the same time.
I love
Yeah.
it. I love it. So what I'm seeing is that you are bringing all of your giftings, in a sense, or the ones that we know you for, to work towards a purpose, to get us to love our
Authenticity.
authentic self and to
Yes.
worship God authentically. So what I'm seeing, Joan, is that you're a creative and you're bringing almost all of your creative abilities into this purpose. So you're a singer, songwriter, you have albums, and you are gifted in music. So you play the piano and you write songs. You're also an author, and I see that you are using your creativity to bring your mission to life. And let's segue a little bit into the other aspect in terms of writing, not just books, but you have a magazine.
Okay, so this was the first edition, and it's KW Magazine for
Okay.
Come Worship, crucial connections in faith and culture. And it's published under the auspices of our nonprofit organization, Crew 44. And Crew is an acronym for Culturally Relevant Expressions of Worship. So we pretty much wanted to use this medium to get to know ourselves better, get to know each other better as people primarily of African descent who are Christ followers. So it's to facilitate conversations among Christ followers primarily of African descent about worship and culture. So it's to get to know, as I said, ultimately, we want to develop deeper, more authentic relationships with Yahweh. So we have 7 issues so far. When we got to maybe the third issue and COVID came, and we realized that we weren't getting the readership that we really hoped for, we decided to take it into live online conversations. So we had crucial conversations of which you were a part, because there is a feature in the Garvey issue, the issue where we featured Garvey, and we did an interview with you, which was really wonderful. Yes, we have articles from people Jamaica, throughout the Caribbean, in the diaspora in the US, Canada. I'm not sure if we had anybody from Canada, but the UK for sure. And of course, the continent of Africa. And it has really been opening doors for connections and networking, and conversations. Yeah.
Over the last 3 episodes or so, we've been hearing a similar tale, how books are building connections and conversations. We saw that in Dawn Forrester Price's interview about her book, A Run to Freedom, and how that helped her to connect with the diaspora. And now we're seeing how this magazine, which is in a book format,
Yes.
is also becoming a platform for connecting, and not just connecting with the Caribbean diaspora. We're seeing how Joanna's used it to connect with the African diaspora and people on the very continent itself. And so one of the things we want to share through this podcast is winning beyond book sales. And this is a big one, how your book can create connections with people in different continents. And it also preserves your legacy because you have the album, then you have the KW magazine, and I know that some of your songs are in the magazine. So it's
Yes.
also preserving the songs that future generations can use. Have there been any feedback in terms of people reading the magazine and finding the song and using it in worship space?
Yes, actually, there is a band in the UK that asked for permission to record it. And I was very happy about that. And I mean, I've heard other stories of people, and of course, their favorite one is Nothing Other Way God Can Do.
Ah,
Nothing
I
is
love it.
impossible with God. So that's the
Yes.
one they chose. Um, I'm trying to remember if anyone else had, but in recent times, we have been, as a matter of fact, the General Assembly of the World Council of Churches. They have used the Come Make We Worship song in their um, assembly, and it just blew me away to see the video of the people. And it's the same score that I included in the magazine that they were using to use the song in worship. So yeah.
Yeah, this is awesome. I don't know if you're seeing the connection, but
Mm.
you're doing the very same thing that Louise Bennett did, because you said that your mom was more accepting because you were reading her poetry in a
Yeah.
book. And you have documented stories in the Jamaican language, your music in the Jamaican language, and
Yeah.
others are finding the book, the magazine, just like they found Louise Bennett's. You found her material. And I
Yeah.
don't know if you see the connection. And
I'm
so,
seeing it now. Thank
and so
you.
through writing, you are preserving the culture
Mm.
for generations, so that what
Yeah.
happened to you is now being multiplied. So other
Yeah.
people, children in different countries, people, maybe teachers, musicians have already started to pick it up. Churches will pick up this thing, read it, and those who are struggling, because it's in a book, because a book gives a sense of authority, it will become more accepting. And so your writing preserves it
Wow.
and ensures that
Yeah.
there is impact. So I want to congratulate you for
Thank
documenting it
you.
just like Louise Bennett, so that
Yeah.
it will become more culturally acceptable and available to others that you may never ever meet. So you're furthering the experience, and I want to
Yes,
congratulate
yes.
you.
Thank you.
That's just brilliant. That it may have been a coincidence, but to me, it's our God incident.
There
That's
you go.
just brilliant, and that's a good way to segue into your first book, God
Mhm.
Incidences. Tell
Yeah.
tell us about that and the upcoming revised edition.
So, a God incidence is it's something that people confuse with a coincidence,
Yes.
but we really know say is God engineer it. So, the book started in a fast actually. I I felt God was calling me into a 7-day fast. This was back in 2006. And and then as I was preparing to go off into this fast, I I felt I was supposed to write about my experiences on the mission field or into the mission field, and then the experiences that I had with God
Yes.
and everything. And it was confirmed in a prophetic word in the strangest of ways that I could only also call a God incidence. So it started in a fast 2006, and then it wasn't published until 2010. I was beginning to feel when overdue to deliver a baby. Well, neither you nor I really know how that feels, but I can just imagine the baby overdue and in 2010, and I felt again called into a fast. And that was what led me to the person who guided me in getting the book published in 2010. I wasn't ready, to tell you the truth. I wasn't ready to hit the road with the book, but still, God used it. Doors were open for me to share about my experiences with God, and for people who were preparing to go on similar journeys. It was the thing they needed in the moment. And so, yes, that was called God Incidences, adventuring with an awesomely sovereign, sovereignly awesome God. The foreword was written by Reverend Dr. Samuel Vassell, one of my mentors, and it had stories ranging from Europe to Africa to, of course, the Caribbean, Central and South America. Yes, all of them designed to demonstrate that God is in control.
So it really is about divine providence. So things that
It
would
is.
seem to be coincidental, it's really God
Mhm.
orchestrating the moves and our steps,
Yes.
to bring about his purposes. So
Mhm.
why have you chosen to revise God incidents?
Okay, so one of the reasons is that from very early, I felt that the cover needed changing. Yes. I mean, I got the book reviewed on a radio program once by somebody who was a really tough critic. So I was preparing myself to, get blows about, what is wrong with this book. The only thing that she could tell me was wrong with the book was the cover never matched the inside. So let me show you. Let me see if I have it here. This
Yes.
was it. And she
Ah,
felt, you know. So that was one thing. Another thing was that there were other experiences that I'd had that I wanted to share. And one of those was my meeting my husband and getting married.
yes.
So yes. So the revised version has that update because there is a chapter called Romantic Adventure. The intention is to have it out on December 10. December 10 is a Sunday. It's also the anniversary of my parents. They would have been celebrating their 63rd wedding anniversary. And over the past 2 years, they passed on. My mother first and then my father. And so this revised edition is dedicated to both of them. Yeah.
Okay,
So
love it. And as
mhm,
you touched on the passing of your parents, my sincere condolences. I know your
thank
mom was a lover of books and a huge supporter of your journey
you.
as an
Yeah.
author, as a creative. And there was another book that your mom was actively involved with and helping you to promote before she passed away. That's
Mm.
Auntie Jojo Goes Vegan. What's the story behind that book?
So let me see if I can go back to when did I start going. Well, in 2008, I was very sick, and in the process of recovery from what we weren't even quite sure what it was, I got introduced to a book about raw veganism. And I read the book. It's a big fat book. I read the book, and by the time I finished reading the book, I said, yes, I think this is the road I need to take. And I mean, it really brought about a transformation. I mean, one of the transformations, apart from just being full of energy, was that in 6 weeks, I moved from a size 12 to a size 6. So, yes. No, I'm not quite at 6 right now. But I'm also not raw vegan. But I never really left being vegan. And I wanted to really share. I was very passionate about it and wanted to share with others what was possible in changing lifestyle, nutrition. So, yeah, and I I was led. And as a matter of fact, people, it was Ruth who advised me that I should. Yes, she's talking about my mother, but she influenced me very greatly in doing this book and getting it published. Yes, at a time when, because it came out just a few months, it came out in June, my mom passed in November. And my mother got on the phone in her sick state, calling all her friends and saying, "You need to read this book." So, yes, she was very supportive. Okay.
So, what we're seeing again is just a dominant theme throughout this interview that books change lives. So, her life was changed in terms of appreciating and accepting the Jamaican culture, especially our language, because she read a book by Louise Bennett Coverley. And then now, with this book here, she became a vegan because she read a book, a raw vegan book. And I know many of you might pick up this book and your life will be changed. So talk to us in terms of what have you done with this book, Auntie Jojo Goes Vegan?
Well, one of the things, even before the book was published, I'd started doing Auntie Jojo's Health Challenge and on Facebook. So people just joined in, and for the first month of the year, usually, we would challenge ourselves, challenge each other to go not just meatless, but to avoid anything that has a face or had a face or has anything to do with something that had a face. So, um, and people have joined in and their testament. I mean, there's one person who just blows my mind. The last time she sent me a photo of herself, I did not know it was her. Honestly. Yes, she had transformed so much. People's blood pressures have been adjusted. People, so just hearing the testimonies of those people too. And I have included some of those testimonies in the book. Uh, and people pretty much are using recipes from out of it. I mean, there's one person who has been in the Auntie Jojo's Health Challenge from day one. Every year she's with us. And she said, my cheese recipe, of course, is not real cheese, is not milk, right? Because milk come from cow, cow has a face. Yeah. But yes, she tried the cheese recipe and she's just over the moon with that. So that's her go-to cheese recipe. And there are so many, there are other recipes in there as well that have been helpful to people trying to find their way to a healthier way of being, you know. And it's not just the nutrition, it's the exercise, it's the water intake, it's the sunshine, it's the trusting God. You know, that's such an essential part of our health. Yeah.
I love it. And this is an excellent time to promote this book because we're getting to the end of the year and
Yes.
persons are making resolutions. And one of them is always about health and being a better version of themselves. And so we want to encourage you in January to join the challenge. And I know by the time Joanne appears on the summit, which would be January 19, day one in the evening as we launch the Authorpreneur Secrets Academy and Vision 2030. Some persons would have been on her challenge, but it's going to be a good opportunity to continue to promote and encourage persons to use the book, read the book, utilize the recipes, and have a brand new start. Because as we've been seeing throughout this interview, books change lives. And we want to encourage you to get Auntie Jojo's books, get her music, and we want you also to get familiar with hearing the Jamaican language. So I'm going to ask her to read a portion of scripture in the Jamaican language, and then she will tell us where we can get more of these readings and more of her resources, because this is just a fabulous way to preserve our culture, immortalizing it through
Yes.
writing. Go ahead, Auntie Jojo.
So this is a passage that I was led to when I was going to speak at a church and telling them about the importance of using the Jamaican language. So a Colossian, I'm going to read from Paul letter to the Colossian them, chapter 4. I'm going to read from verse 2 to verse 4. Not tap pray. And if you watch out and get to no mind ready for action and give God thanks when you know pray. And beg you know, do. Pray for it too. Pray say God we clear the way so we can spread the secret message about Christ Jesus. The messenger where nobody may know about. A sake of that messenger, them chain me up and have me a prisoner so now. Pray say me we get for make the people them know about the messenger. And that we can tell them it plain so they can understand. Cause a that me fi do. A God word this. Thank God.
Love it, love it, love it, love it, love it, love it, love it. So this is a new thing that has been emerging ever since we've been focusing on the cultural aspect, preserving our cultural heritage through writing, through books, and it has just emerged, having the authors read a portion of that. And it has just been such a pleasure having you, Joanne. And we want to hear more. I'm sure invitations are going to come because books open doors, books change lives. So where can we find out more about you and get all these wonderful resources?
Okay, so my website is joannfaithrichards.com. So it's JOANN, two N's, faithrichards.com. And on YouTube, I have a channel. It's just if you look up Joanne Richards, so that's JOANN, Joanne Richards, you should see the YouTube channel with all the readings from the Jamaican New Testament. I am now reading through my final book. It is the book of Luke. So I've read all the books already, except the book of Luke. I'm in the middle of it right now. All my music is there as well, but you can stream my music on any of the streaming platforms, Spotify, Deezer, yes. So you can look for Come, Make We Worship. That's Come with a K, Make We Worship, and Joanne Richards. And you should find me in those places. And then you will see on Amazon the Auntie Jojo Goes Vegan. Tips and recipes for a healthier you.
Love it. And this is her lovely website. So you can go and check it out. So that's joannefaithrichards.com. No hyphen in the website, just joannefaithrichards.com. And there you see Auntie Jojo Goes Vegan, advocate, entrepreneur. And you will see she mentioned her husband. That's a picture of her husband with her right there and the testimonials. It's a beautiful website. You can't miss the Jamaica. The colors are there. And so go check it out, folks. All right. So, Joanne, this has been a real pleasure, and it emphasizes again for me the tagline for this whole movement and this whole show. It's not so much about selling millions of books. It's winning beyond book sales. It's the lives that are changed. Even if just one person would read your book, you never know the influence that would have, because today you're impacting thousands on different continents and, helping us to embrace our culture, all because of that experience cemented by reading a book. And so
Yes.
continue the good work, and we look forward to the revised edition of God Incidents. Take care, and thanks for coming on the show.
Bless you. The pleasure has been mine.
I trust that you enjoyed that interview. And as we close out the show, remember Ecclesiastes 12 verses 12b that says, of making many books, there is no end. So go pen it to win it and dominate authorpreneurship. This is Ruth Taylor saying, ta for now, until next time.